So are we ready to welcome Lata Sethi on stage? Let's give her a big hand. Thank you. So Lata, I have interviewed you quite a few times. We've been speaking in so many conferences around the world, from Ireland to London to Los Angeles to New York to everywhere. I just love learning from you, and my philosophy is like everything you wish. What happened? 1, 2, 3, yes. So my philosophy is like everything you wish for yourself, you wish everybody have. And I want to share the humble way of achieving things by getting the top, but no need to change the core value, the core authenticity. So Lata, you, I remember when you told me that moment where you decided to give up your job. So we're not going to go before. Let's start where, what does it take when you start a business? Because most of the ladies here, are you running your own business? I guess most of you. And you have a dream to grow your business, and you have a sense of achieving high because you deserve it, but you don't know how. So did you know from the very beginning, when you decided to start on your own, that you are going to start, I'm going to give you my mic, scale, grow, and exit, and become a woman with big, massive influence, and then you would start another one, and you'd start another one, and then you will help others to start and exit and invest in their future?
Good morning, Lata Sethi from San Francisco, California. Mirella, what a phenomenal question, and I'm very excited to not only do this with you, but to be here on your first inaugural event in Abu Dhabi. And to answer your question specifically, the answer is no, absolutely not. I wanted to start a company to leverage my various areas of expertise I had built in my career. But when I helped to launch this company, it was very much a new space. Digital transformation of the legal industry 20 years ago was quite a novelty. Now there's so many digital transformation companies popping up in various sectors. But I think what gave me the courage was that if it failed, which the majority of startups do fail, is that, you know, we're not just the prestigious job we left, we're not the company we worked. Am I okay? Yeah. Okay. It's not the title or, you know, the penumbra of the organization's name and, you know, well known in that industry. It's more, who are you? What have you built? What skill sets have you developed? And to invest those different areas in building a startup is very critical, but if you fail, you still have all those assets, your own personal expertise, experience, your network, your education, your community. So I don't think anyone starts a company thinking they'll fail or they want to fail, but since the majority of companies don't make it to the next level, especially the startups that are funded by angel investors or venture capitalists, you have to go in there and give it all you've got. Failure is not an option, but you know you have other things you have built, so you can go forth with the courage, and if you fail, you pick it up and you do it again and again till you succeed.
Sorry, we'll have to share the microphone. The microphone, I will tell you later, is very important for us at Global Woman. So I really love what you said, because many times people are very scared about failing, and they wait until they feel they're ready, and they wait until they believe they're going to be great. Let me get another degree, and let me get another course, and let me get another coaching, or maybe I'm not good enough, and let me improve, and so that goes on, and then you realize, in order for you to be great, you'll have to start failing. So how did you manage to make your very first enterprise, the very first venture, so successful? And please tell us some numbers as well, because we want to hear numbers. How does that kind of translate in numbers? How did a woman from her house as a mom, because at that point, this is why you decided to leave, because you wanted to dedicate your life to the family and to your son. And many times we resonate with that, because as moms, we always give up our dreams for our children. But how did you manage to start from scratch and make it really big success?
I think there's two answers to that. One, you have to believe in what you're building. Whatever the solution or the creation, whether it's a small business or you're building a company that will be primed for angel and venture financing down the future. Are you guys all familiar with startups and venture financing and how, right? Okay, so I see a lot of nodding heads.
Thank you for asking that. Yeah.
Yes. It's a big thing in Silicon Valley, but not necessarily to the same intensity in other places in the world, but I know in the UAE it's growing rapidly, especially for female entrepreneurs. So the first thing is, believe in what you're building. And the second thing is, think about why are you doing what you're doing. For me, leaving my New York, Manhattan, Rockefeller Center trial attorney position at the oldest patent litigation firm in the world was a big, big decision, because it was quite a coup to even get that position. But after 10 years, and when my son was a toddler, like 2 or 3 years old, I realized I was not seeing him at all. And even though I had an au pair and everything, that's not why I became a mom. Unfortunately, I also did what I thought was the right thing by my family and married an Indian American gentleman. Maybe gentleman is not a good word. But anyway, married a man that my families knew and introduced me to, who when my son was 9 months old, said to me, I'm not really ready to be a husband, I'm not ready to be a father, and I'm not sure I wanted to marry an Indian woman. And I'm like, okay, that's all fantastic, but what about this 9-month-old running around, right? So I was a single mom, meaning when I left my job, I was the sole head of the household. I was the sole revenue generator. And Manhattan is not inexpensive, similar to Dubai and Abu Dhabi. But what I did want to focus on is where was my value. I wanted to be a hands-on mom. And when I started my first company back in 2004, it was very challenging, but I was driven by the fact that even if I work as hard as I did as a trial attorney, or even harder, I had some flexibility in my schedule to spend time with my son in the morning and evening, and that was sort of my North Star. That company got venture funded in Silicon Valley by some of the top venture firms in the country, Goldman Sachs, Sequoia Capital, which are really prestigious names, but the point is, 97% of venture capitalists in America are white men who went to like Kellogg and Harvard and MIT and Stanford, which is not my world. And the way I was treated as a female, short, Asian founder with bright lipstick who smiled a lot was very different than my tall, Caucasian, male, blonde co-founders, right? And so that company got acquired by Thomson Reuters in 2008. I then helped start a second company in 2009 that got acquired by a hedge fund in 2019. And the reason I'm sharing it is the second firm, we grew to 24 offices, 3,000 employees. I worked my tail off, but I was always treated substandard, like, we call it children of a lesser god, because our investors were white male. In fact, we call our venture investors pale, male, and stale, because, they don't understand what it's like to be a mom, a single mom. She likes that, huh? And so I've got more on that story, but I hope that addressed a little bit of your question, Mirella.
Because I want to make this interview very simple. So she mentioned her business was acquired, so she started as a single mom with nothing, and she managed to get investors, venture capitalists, interested to invest in her business, so she grew to 3,000 employees. I mean, is that incredible? So, and Lata, you are the significance of every woman who has a dream, and there is no limit what we can achieve. So you don't need to have like a wealthy family, not anymore, because you know what, before, a long time ago, the only way a woman could be wealthy is through two ways. One is marry a wealthy man or come from a wealthy family. Now, Lata didn't come from a wealthy family. Obviously, she didn't marry a gentleman. And she started everything from scratch, and she made it happen. So I want every woman to think about that. It is possible. So can you explain with simple words, Lata, what does it mean, a venture capitalist, and how a startup or a female founder can start building relationship with this potential venture capitalist or angel investors, or any kind of investor who is interested to invest in startups, especially women, and how can they find an exit? Acquired company means that you build something incredible, so you have people ready to buy it, right? Does it make sense? And I will, of course, give you the opportunity to ask some questions as well. You listen to Lata, you have some ideas that you want to explore.
Thank you, Mirella. So a venture capital investment generally happens to a startup that has several parameters in it. One, it's very different than a small business, okay? So a small business would be like starting a restaurant, a cafe, a hair salon, a dry cleaning, laundry entity. A venture fundable startup is a company that shows potential to grow, 5 to 7 times its revenue in about 5 years. Another name for venture capital, a derogatory name, is vulture capital, because it's not a patient capital. It's not like you invest in, like yesterday we were at the family office conference. There's a lot of patience, 10, 15 years or a generation, they'll wait for the fruition of their investment. Venture capital is intense, it's aggressive, and usually it is provided as a growing amount of investment that helps to scale the company across the globe. So generally that means it's a tech company, it's an online company, or it could be a services company or a science-related company, but it has to have the capability to grow exponentially, and that venture capital influx of cash helps to take a company that already has a little bit of revenue, is in the marketplace but hasn't grown significantly, so then you're bringing in this extra money for which you are trading in a component of your company. You give shares in your company, you give equity in your company, and for certain companies that's really critical to grow. However, even though I'm coming now from the investor side after leaving my entrepreneur world behind, if you can grow without venture capital and hold the majority of your company's shares, your equity, that's the best way to grow. But if you're at a point where you have to hire a sales team, build and expand your website, get business development, and grow your clients that are very small, but you need partnerships and collaborations, so all of that takes huge amount of money, then you go to a venture capitalist. And prior to that, you can also raise funds through angel investing. Are you familiar with angel investing? So, I see some heads nodding no. So angel investment is, okay, for example, I'm an angel investor. What that means is I invest my money directly into a company. Okay? And usually that's very early stage, and you invest in a company that either you know the founder or you know that particular industry sector or that particular domain. Like for me, I come from a medical background and a legal tech background, so those companies are in my bailiwick, my familiarity. And so you directly invest in an early stage company, and you help, you get on their board, you invest not only dollars, dollars, but your time, you make introductions, etc. Once you go past the angel, there's also something in the U.S. called Friends and Family Circle, where you raise anywhere from $150,000 to $250,000 to get your company up and going. And so what happens is, the white males in the world can raise $250,000 US dollars because they have family members, they have people they play golf with, they go to church with, they went to school with. When you're a woman or a woman of color, your family and friends may not have that kind of money to invest in you and not want it back the next year, right? So that's when you go towards venture capital funding. And, it's a huge investment of both the investors and the founders, because keep in mind, you're giving away a piece of the pie, a piece of your company by raising that capital. But if your company is doing great things or solving some kind of a problem that's, important globally, then venture capital is absolutely a great vehicle. And just because we are all female founders, female investors, females in this room, I want to ask you, of the billions of dollars that go into startup companies by venture capital firm investments, throw out what you think is the percentage that goes to female founders. She's on top of her game, 2%, that's right. It was 2% for most of the last 25 years, and last year in 2024, it was 1.9% that goes to female-founded startups as venture capital. And for women of color, which includes a lot of us here, including me, it's 0.5%. She nailed it, she's got it. I mean, think about the abysmal lack of funding to female founders. So what I have helped launch about 5 years ago after my second company got acquired is a venture fund to invest in female founders. After seeing how I was treated, in my 2 startups, which were very successful and sold for a lot of money, I wanted to do something to accelerate the female founders' journey. And as we know, there's a lot of female-founded coaching and mentoring and accelerators and incubators out there, which are all very critical to the ecosystem. But if you don't have money, if you don't have capital, you can't start, build, or scale your company. So our venture fund, it's called How Women Invest Fund, is purely focused on female founders who are launching and starting companies. And what we're doing is it's not just our fund. We have collaborated with 80 other female fund managers all across the globe, and our goal is to activate 10,000 first-time female investors who want to put their money into venture capital funds to fund female founders. So think of it, thank you. And the whole goal is, whether you invest in our fund or another female-founded fund, the important thing is to see there are brilliant founders out there raising capital, and whether it's 1.9 or 2% or 0.5% is not going to change. And as we know from yesterday as well, in the next 24 months, we have the greatest transformation of wealth, and we, as the global population, is leaving more than $4.4 trillion on the table, not investing in female-founded companies. And, many of us in this room have been in the corporate world, worked for 10, 15, 20 years. We now have the power, we have the influence, and we have the money to start investing in female founders. And one last thing before I hand the mic back. And some of you may be familiar with the statistics, but for every, I'm going with US dollars because I come from America, but for every dollar invested in a male-led company, you get 38% return of investment, ROI per dollar. For every dollar invested in a female-founded company, you get 68 cents ROI. So when we were talking in the family office, I said investing in female founders is not just the right thing to do and the noble thing to do. It's not just because you're a good person, but for your investors, your limited partners, you're bringing back almost 2x ROI per dollar invested. And the last point, every female-led company hires more than 5 times a male-led company, female employees. And so if you want to build companies we want to see in the world that support families, that support values, what we're trying to do is get women that are already financially resourceful to vote with their dollars by investing in the companies you see.
That's amazing. I love these conversations. So there are many takes away, but 2 that are very important. Start thinking, how can you find ways to make your company scalable? Is it scaling right now? Is it something that when you meet an investor can see that, oh, okay, I can see that that can go massive, no limit. Number 2, education. Many times I see women, they have the ability to build a 6-figure business, 7-figure business, 8-figure business, but they still don't surround themselves with the right environment, with like big game changers. Let me give you an example. I met a woman today. She had the chance to be in the room yesterday. And a few other women which I invited, they just didn't see the value. I'm telling you, the room that we were yesterday was the room that every woman should aspire to be. And I gave this woman an example because she was asked to pay, let's say, $1,500 or $2,000. We did an event at the same conference in New York, and I invited a few friends to apply and to come. So one of my friends traveled from another country to come, and when she got to know that she has to pay a couple of $1,000s, she said, no, I'm not going to do that. I said, okay, fine. I mean, I do it, but I can't transfer my thoughts to your mind so you can see the value. Now, the director of Global Women Club in New York, she runs a 9-figure business. She's such an incredible woman. I mean, I admire her so much. And she came to the conference. The day after, we put an event like this together, and she's running the club. You know how did she start the event? She said, oh my God, I want to tell everybody, yesterday I was in a conference, and it's the very first time in my life I felt the smallest person in the room. A woman who is running a 9-figure business. And we talked together after that. I said, how can we raise more awareness where we start encouraging women to enter the rooms like this? And we buy a bag $1,000. We go on holiday thousands of dollars. But that meeting can change your life forever as it changed mine. I've been running this club for a long time, and when a friend gave me the chance to buy a ticket to go to this conference, I said, I jump. I don't care. How much is it? And I went, and from that day, I never stopped. I put myself in an environment where I meet latas. Let me give you another example. I heard, who knows Grant Cardone? So he was asked a question. I saw it somewhere. Of course, I've interviewed him a few times, and Elena has come to speak at the Global Women Summit. They are an incredible, inspirational couple. Somebody was asking him, would you send your children to study at the Harvard? And he said, absolutely, 100%. But just so you know, I am not thinking like they're going to go there to learn. I want them to go there to meet Obamas. So it's your network is your net worth. Find ways to enter rooms where you can meet Obamas, where you can meet latas. Invest your money to meet this high scale. How do you scale? How do you 10x? Move from the startup to the ground, to the circulate with amazing people, keep yourself inspired, challenge yourself with ideas. I mean, all the time I challenge myself. I came from the village to a little town, and then from a little town to a bigger city, and then I moved to London, and then I start in a charity, and then I go to a business meeting, and I learn about these angel investors, and venture capitalists, and family office, and all kind of things that I never heard before. So educate yourself, because you have no idea how much you can absorb it. Or for me, it was like it took a long time because, you know, when I moved to London, the first 2 years, most of the time, every time I would take the microphone and say, sorry for my English, I didn't understand what these people were talking about. I was just doing, well, what the hell are they talking about? I don't understand this accent. So you ladies are so smart. Imagine if you put yourself in front of people who have made it, have become unicorns, and you can do it too. So I really want to encourage, I want to tell everybody, every woman that I meet, please go and meet these Obamas. So, Lata, just to find out.
You didn't say Trump.
No, I'm repeating, honestly, there is nothing wrong with, I mean, every person who has achieved something, obviously they have done something right. So I'm just repeating what I heard. So don't take me wrong, I'm not political, I don't want to get involved in politics, but just to close, how about we give the opportunity to the room to see if there is some kind of stimulation for questions. We have a lovely Julia and this lovely lady here.
My name is Julia, I'm leader of Global Women Club in Dubai. It's an honor and privilege to be here. Lata, if you don't mind, personal question. We were talking about numbers, so I had 2 times successful raisement for my business. I do event tech company actually. And the main problem with events is, as Lata mentioned, to convince serious guys that it's not a salon or laundry or something else and that we can grow. Actually, last year we made X2 for the previous year. I'm based in Dubai. Originally I'm from Moscow. So in my country we made also 9 number figures. If we convert it to USD, it's 7 number. But anyhow. So now we are on stage of no need to raise angel investments more. The next plan for me is in 3-4 years to be acquired by some big strategic companies. So could you please share your advice how to be from one side focused on the business, but from other side to make the homework so that further the compliance of Booking.com or Marriott will consider us as a serious, not startup, but the company to be acquired. If you could share some advice, what shall I do from my side, it will be amazing. Thank you.
It's a very valid question because many times I have that question inside me. So to say it simple is like, you have an exit in mind, you know what you want, so you know you want, you're kind of searching for the right person to acquire your company, but that means you have to put so much hard work to make the company compliant with the requirement the investors are looking or buyers are looking, but in the same time you have to invest so much work to keep it up to date. Everyday work, you know, there are 2 parts, one long term and one short term. How do you save that balance?
Not to choose to make the wrong focus. To keep the focus on growth of the business and the strategic companies will come and acquire, or to focus on the strategy of how to make it
Everyday work, yeah.
So you're asking, I think, a very classic question. How do I work on the business while I'm also working in the business, right? And firstly, you need to create an AI avatar to clone yourself. That would be the first advice. No, but seriously, I think what you need to do is, you know, the way I did it, I planned a certain amount of hours every week, knowing how tight everybody's schedules are, to grow the business, as well as like maybe 10 to 20% of your hours, which is a lot, on making contacts, making high-level relationship, so that you're already front and center in the people that you think are the companies that you think maybe in that space that are growing, that are on acquisition spree, that might be interested in your company. The other thing that I wasn't that available when I started my first company 20 years ago, in 2004, that you do have now is social media. You know, whether you're doing, you know, right now everybody I know is writing a book, right? But do something that's a little bit more unique, whether it's a podcast or a LinkedIn Live video. Make a name for yourself that not only works as your own brand, your own logo, who Julia is, but also, you know, address controversial topics, bring in stellar speakers. For example, let's take Marriott, right? I'm a Marriott person, meaning I use Marriott all the time, but find the key people in Marriott, invite them to be on a podcast with you, get in front of them, be on their radar. And, you know, when you don't have much time, you have to be very critical or judicious in how you spend that time. So do what brings the greatest value for the time or for the dollar or for the dirham invested. So I would create, and you may already have this, but a really strong social media presence, and, you know, hire a college intern to help you who's like a social marketing guru, because I know basic social media, but not the way the younger generation does. So, you know, build those relationships before you need them. And while you're growing revenue and scaling, this will draw attention by your potential acquiring company or the acquiring people in that space. Is that helpful?